Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you for joining me here. Today we're going to take a look at MATIC Network. And we're simply going to compare MATIC with Bitcoin and see roughly where it stacks up and just analyze the technical data to make sure we find a good entry point for you guys. All right. Now just know I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. Always do your own research. Now let's get to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at MATIC Network. First thing we're going to do is just take a quick peek at the 15-minute chart and then look at Bitcoin, of course, to kind of see any correlation between the two, as well as the fact that we want to understand a really good entry point. And I always think it's very important to look at both so we kind of understand the overall general theme in the market. Okay, so taking a look first at MATIC, in the last 24 hours, we've seen a pretty strong push from right around 35 cents up to roughly a high of 57 cents. So it's a pretty strong increase. And also the thing to note as well is the fact that I want to see here first. So there's the Bitcoin sell-off there on the 17th. So it was impacted and consolidated, but what's nice is we look at Bitcoin here. Bitcoin had a consolidation phase as well, but it sold off heavily and tried again a third time. So MATIC, after this time frame here, it actually increased, even though it had a consolidation period here and a sell-off. We didn't see a major impact here. So I mean, yes, it did come down, but it wasn't terrible if you compare it with Bitcoin. At least the overall price stayed level and increased instead of decrease, decrease, consolidation, decrease. Okay, so that's a good sign. That basically means that Bitcoin isn't specifically, going to be calling the shots here, if that makes sense. And these are the kind of coins I like to invest in, the ones that don't require, Bitcoin to be doing really well at all times. Okay, and just while we're here on Bitcoin, here's a previous resistance line. It is now a support at roughly 53,000. Okay, so as you can kind of see here, dropped down. We saw the most recent low at about 47,000. Ramped back up yesterday pretty strong, and it's holding above this line, this current support line of 53,000. I also like to note too that we had a, there's a strong level here, right at about 57,000. We're just going to mark that for later. Okay, so that's what we're looking at there, and that's Bitcoin. So let's go back over to MATIC and really look a little deeper here. And I always like to start with the one-day chart, move down to the 4-hour, and then the 15-minute. So let's go ahead and look at the one-day chart. So whomever invested in MATIC prior to January is probably feeling pretty good right now, because it's jumped up a lot, right? I don't know the math on that, but it's quite a lot. And what's cool here too is you can see MATIC had its first all-time high of 54 cents, and that was approximately the 10th of March. Since then it sold off, came back up, Bitcoin did its thing here, and then it ramped back up again. It hit its all-time high of 57 cents. So what's cool is it's 3 cents over, but right now you can see it's fighting with this current level here. So let's turn off this price line really quick. Let's create a resistance level, because that's going to be a resistance level here, right at about 54 cents, plus or minus a little bit, but that's pretty darn close. So that is what the one-day chart tells us. We can also notify, I would like to notify you of the fact that the 50-day moving average is trending upwards, and it is still essentially working as a support level. It's got a slight variance. It's come down below a couple times because of how Bitcoin pushed the pricing down. It kind of created a sell-off, but it ramped back up pretty much every day to close above the moving average. So that's a really good sign if you look at it there. The 100-day moving average is trailing behind. That's a ways away. We probably won't see that be tested for a while. For right now, I'd say that the 50-day moving average is a pretty strong support level. So what could happen is this could continue to channel upwards, and if the price stays at this level, there will eventually be a breakout once the 50-day moving average comes and gets tested. So just pay attention to that. We're a ways off from that, but just something to note. And then if we look down below here, we'll see that there is a 70 on the RSI. So to me, that is overbought. That's definitely on the high side. But also bear in mind too, the one-day chart, the RSI and MACD aren't exactly the most ideal indicators here, okay? So just something to understand as well, because I prefer the 4-hour chart when it comes to the indicators. And why don't we go ahead and take a look at that next, because we've gotten all we really can here. We created a nice resistance level, and we've noted that the 50-day moving average is working as a support. Not much else really needs to be seen here. 4-hour chart next. Let's go ahead and take a look here. All right, so there's some things that I see that aren't ideal as far as taking a long position right now. And this is normal for any time the price increases as fast as it did recently. In other words, you probably don't want to jump in. You want to wait for the price to level out. And I'm always very cautious about a price that's increasing like it is. I try not to act on emotion. Fear of missing out is a terrible thing. Try not to do it, right? Think logically when you're taking an entry. Now here, let's look at the logics, right? The logistics tell us that in what, 75 RSI and a MACD that is almost at its peak, there's a likelihood there could be a momentum shift. Okay, so it could be shifting towards bearish momentum. It may not be a strong momentous downturn, but it could very well sell off soon. So just be aware, extremely oversold, extremely overbought, and that moving average convergence divergence, the MACD, looks like it's reaching its peak of its momentum. So just something to note. And then looking at this here further, what do the moving averages tell us? Well, really nothing at this point, because the fact that we've only got two, because the 200-day moving average doesn't apply here with such a short amount of time. On top of that, these two moving averages haven't had a chance to be tested yet because the price increased so quickly. Okay, so just something to note here. We don't really want to use these moving averages. So furthermore, not much else we want to really use as indicators minus the RSI and MACD in this case, because the volume weighted average price isn't really all that accurate on the 4-hour chart. It's best to be used on the 1, 5, and 15-minute charts. Okay. So we've kind of extrapolated whatever we can here so far with this amount. So let me go ahead and take a look at the 15-minute chart. Now to me, the 15-minute is my favorite chart. I do take entry on the 1 or 5-minute chart sometimes if the price is extremely volatile. In situations like this though, I prefer just to wait for confirmation, and you'll hear me say it time and time again. And my favorite confirmation is 30 minutes above or below the support or resistance level, depending on how you're trading. So taking a look at this here first, just note the price is above the volume weighted average price. It's above the VWAP for now. This isn't for sure. It could very well change. And as you can see, it's been above and below both times with a significantly large variance. So that tells me that the VWAP isn't reliable yet, because the volume is so extreme recently that it's creating itself as a support and a resistance level. In other words, we want to wait for longer confirmation in situations like these. So if you see right now, if you see the price, see we've got this red bar, green bar, red bar. I don't feel very good about that. Even though the price is over VWAP, it could very well reverse and come back down. Okay, so what I feel better about here is the moving average. The 50-day moving average does appear to be a little bit better of a support level. So what I'd recommend doing is, if you're going to plan to take entry with what you see right now, wait until the price tests the VWAP and possibly drops below. If it drops below, we wait longer for it to test the moving average. Now when it tests, I'm referring to, again, preferably closing 2 15-minute green bars. Okay, so far it's going red, green, red, green. I don't really like that. I don't think that's an ideal point of entry. Also keep in mind too, this is the extreme high right here. So here, let me mark that again. I'm not sure why I didn't carry over, but you're looking at this being a resistance level. So ideally what would happen is it'll come down, it'll bounce off the VWAP and come back up and test this resistance. That's what I would like to see. Another thing to note too, and again, this is a 15-minute chart, not extreme amount of validity here, but the RSI is trending down a little bit towards just say 50, which is a good indication for a long position. And then also the MACD is trending upwards, but you can see it's kind of peaking out a little bit. So to me, I don't feel great about taking a position right now. I would wait for the price to come back down. And why don't we see if we can identify any other support levels, because if the price comes down and passes the VWAP and the 50-day moving average, we want to be ready for it. So this line right around here appears to be tested a few times. It's been hit twice here, right around 48, 49 cents. And it peaked out right here a couple times as well. So I'd say 49 cents is probably a pretty good support level that we might want to use moving forward if the price were to come down below where it's at right now. So that's kind of just my thoughts there. I feel like the price comes down, breaks VWAP, and continues past the 50-day moving average, then there's a good chance it might bounce off this 49-cent support level and perhaps correct itself and come back up. So if you see the price come down and bounce off of this level and essentially respect this level, kind of like what you saw here where it hit hard and then we had a really solid green bar after, then it would probably be a good idea to take a position at that point. Just remember not to go all in. If you're a day trader or a short-term swing trader, you got to remember to take smaller positions. So I'd maybe recommend a 25% entry, perhaps even 30, if it comes down and bounces off of this 49-cent support level. If it doesn't come down and bounce, that's fine. Wait for it to hold above the volume weighted average price for at least 30 minutes. And at that point, also consider a 25 to maybe 30% entry point. And then as you get closer to this resistance level here, possibly consider adding to your position if it comes up above and beyond and holds above. But if it tests this level and rejects and starts coming back down on you, sell your position, get out, and take your profit. That's what I would do in this scenario, because again, the reason why I feel like this is because look at the price. 24 hours ago, it was right around here. It was right around 40 cents. And it's made higher highs ever since then. So when the price goes on this kind of momentous trend over a 24-hour period, I don't feel super comfortable about taking entry unless I have extreme confirmation. And to me, extreme confirmation is essentially just something closer to an hour. So I'd prefer for the VWAP to be tested 2 or 3 times, closing, again, preferably 2 or 3 15-minute green bars above that level. And then I would take entry. That'd feel comfortable for me. So again, do what you want. This is only something that I would prefer to do. In my experience, it's worked out very well for me to wait for confirmation. And I can say that confidently that is probably the best thing you could do for yourself, is to ensure that you just don't jump in without as much knowledge as you need, right? So we've already identified the support and resistance levels. It's working itself into a channel. Since the price has been so violent lately and the volume has increased significantly compared to what it usually does, then that tells me that the price could shift at any moment, and we need to make sure to wait for that confirmation. Okay, so that is my thoughts there. I do think the price will continue to have make higher highs, but I do also feel like there's a chance of a sell-off too, because if we look at the 4-hour, just look at this RSI. 75. That's extremely overbought, right? So anytime I see an RSI over 70 on the 4-hour chart, I immediately pump the brakes and I wait. I might recommend you do the same because there's a likelihood the price will sell off just based on its history and the fact that you look at this here, the 1-day chart. Yes, it hit a new all-time high, but it's likely not going to close above and beyond the 54-cent resistance level from before. So if history repeats itself, and here's the thing, when it comes to currency, the same thing with stocks as well, when patterns form, they're likely to repeat themselves, right? Patterns have a history of continuing in the same pattern, right? So what I'm getting at here is that patterns can happen, but they don't have to. In other words, in this example, it is likely that the price will perform similarly to the time it did before. But again, it doesn't have to, if that makes sense. I know it sounds contradictory, but they have a tendency of repeating themselves, patterns, but they're completely random too. Like, we truly don't know what will happen next. But to me, the indicators that we see right now tell me that there's a strong chance of reversal and the price will likely come back down, which is why we got to pay extra close special attention to this support level here and see how it reacts. Okay. So again, the support level at 49 cents I feel is going to be a really big deal, because look at this, the 54-cent resistance level from before is getting tested and rejected. I don't know, I feel like the price is going to come down here, but again, that's just my opinion. Do what you will, just be safe, wait for confirmation, and use all the indicators to make an informed decision. If you find benefit from this video, please like and subscribe. Really greatly appreciate that, as well as the fact that we'll continue to make videos like this moving forward. And thanks again for reaching out and letting me know about this. I appreciate you, my community, and you're all very awesome. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.